Thank you, Aravind, for joining us after, I'm sure, what was a very hectic work day. Thank you for making it at the Rising Bharat Summit. And we hope you can be with us in person very soon for our next event. But, it's going to be nearly 3 years since you launched Perplexity. And this was a period that sort of coincided with the rapid rise in AI around the world. Give us a sense of the state of play in AI today, because every day when I open my Twitter feed or when I open any news website, it's just so overwhelming, the pace of creation, disruption. As someone who's sitting right there in the hot seat in the valley, give us a sense of the state of play, Aravind.
I think you're right. Like the last 2-3 months have been pretty insane in terms of the speed of progress. I would say, the industry moved faster in the last 3 months for me than my first 2 years of starting Perplexity, and that should say something, because I actually considered Perplexity to be pretty fast moving, and I don't think we've moved ever faster than ever before in the last 3 months. So I think that is been like accelerated partially by the entry of China and DeepSeek and many other models from China, like Alibaba's QN models and so on. So that definitely like put open source ahead of the closed models for the first time. And so that caused all the foundation model labs in the United States, which do not open source these models, but they still want to compete for being the best model in the market, to start releasing their stuff even faster and make the API pricing even cheaper and do a lot more things in a speed that was never seen before. So because of this, all these new capabilities are possible now, especially on reasoning, where the models can think and answer for harder questions. And also the models can go through a long chain of thought process before executing a very complicated workflow, like doing the work of an analyst, doing the work of a research analyst or like a professional researcher, doing background research or diligence research or anything. All these things earlier would require very sophisticated workflows, but now essentially get compressed to a very long-running chain of thought process with good orchestration of the LLMs and a bunch of tools and data providers and APIs and things like that. So that's creating all these new kind of products like deep research that was never possible before. And it's also going to lead to creation of things like agents, right? It's the workflows that actually execute tasks for us. And so that's going to change our impression of AIs from just chatbots and answer engines and research agents to like assistants and potentially vertical and horizontal. So that's why like this year is very exciting.
Are you having sleepless nights though? Because the pace at which this disruption, it's so intense that it's taking days for a rival to launch a competing product and out-execute an incumbent. So how do you keep up with it?
Well, there's no substitute to hard work. So we work pretty hard. That's why I'm like, after your call, I'm still going to go back to work. This particular that moment in AI is something that you just cannot miss. It's if you probably take a break and come back after 3 months, it'll look like the world has changed completely. Just to make sense of what I said, like imagine you were, end of December or early January, and if I told you there would be DeepSeek, there would be deep research, there would be O3 Mini, and like all these different models and like agents and like all, image generation, all these things that happen in the first 3 months of the year, you would be like, come on, I know AI is moving fast, but this sounds too much. But that's literally what happened, right? And so if anything, we should expect things to move even faster for the rest of the year.
So are you clocking 90 hours a week, Aravind, 100 hours a week? Have you stopped?
I don't know. I try to work all my waking hour. And there's this quote of Jensen Huang, like I wake up, I work, and even when I'm not working, I think about work. I think that's basically what's happening, what's going on, and I really don't think anyone actually in the arena like actually like doing stuff right now. I don't think they're doing anything different from me. This seems like the bare minimum expectation right now.
Right. So Perplexity, which began as this answer engine just under 3 years ago, the answer to Google as we knew it, you've recently crossed $100 million in ARR. Cursor, another AI-enabled coding platform, has also crossed 100 million in ARR in just 21 months. And Midjourney, reached 200 million in ARR with just 11 employees. And Bolt crossed 30 million in ARR with just 20 employees. Arvind, earlier, every funding round for a startup used to coincide with this huge demand for engineers, full stack developers, mean stack developers. Their salaries would boom, at least, till 2-3 years ago, every time there was a funding round for a startup. But now we are seeing this new trend where you're able to build 10x better AI products with very few engineers, right? What does that mean for the future of engineering jobs, especially in a country like India, which produces millions of engineers every year? All of you are able to achieve so much without throwing, people at problems.
Yeah, I think it's a very important question. I would just say at this point, like, if you're not using AIs when you're writing code, you're essentially stagnating yourself by sticking with the old workflow and old tooling. And people who do use AIs to write code are getting work done way faster. We see that internally, even at Perplexity. There are some engineers who are like very good at using these AIs writing code, no matter whether it's in their editor, like in the form of GitHub Copilot or Cursor, or if it's like an end-to-end deployment app like Replit or Bolt, or if it's something that's just a separate standalone app like Perplexity or ChatGPT. Whoever is using AIs, they're getting work that's meant to be done in weeks and days. And they're able to fix bugs way faster. When somebody points out a feedback like, oh, can we move this button here? Can we change the UI to do something like this? A designer can actually just look at that, come up with a new mock-up, and then just like ask AI to write the code in Swift if it's Apple ecosystem product, and just like actually ship it, deploy it, emulate it, and see if it works, and then ship it to production, and then a new version of the app is pushed to the App Store. So earlier, this process would take weeks to write code and like go through some testing and all that stuff. Now that's being done in days. And so at the end of a year, like whatever app you have is just so much better with just very few engineers. So I think the solution, I would say, is like engineers in India, like they definitely should start using AIs as much as possible to write code and write software. And then definitely you're going to need fewer people to do the same amount of work. That doesn't mean that you don't need the other people, but you're just going to find a lot more projects. And so we can get like a lot more software projects done. There can be a lot of competing products doing the same category of products, or there can be so many different new category of products that don't exist in India yet. And then it could also mean that like, people with a lot of creative taste no longer need to feel like code monkeys if they want to like just get paid for something, right? They have an AI to do all that for them now, so they can truly be liberated, have all the freedom to go push new ideas into production themselves, own the users, build businesses on their own, potentially get to like $1 million in revenue annual recurring with just like a 1-person company or 2-person company. And that can lead to a completely different kind of economy too, where people publish all these apps that they made for themselves or their friends, and a few others find it interesting and pay for that. It's going to lead to a new kind of app store. So I see endless possibilities. At the same time, I'm not like going to say everything's looking good. There's going to be a transition time, and people who don't adapt definitely are going to face some difficulties. So I would say more awareness on this topic is essential.
Right. Arvind, you spoke about what engineers should be doing, but what do you think all of us should be doing? Anyone in the room who wants to experiment with AI, learn about AI, use it in their daily lives, how should they go about it? Where should they start?
I think you should start literally from everything. And I'm, by the way, this applies to me. It doesn't mean people who are running AI companies know how to use AI is better. In fact, like, I still check emails in the same kind of way, or I'm still like moving around meetings and calendar appointments in the same kind of ways I used to do before. And now, I've been thinking, okay, well, shouldn't you ideally be asking an AI to do these things for you? And preparing ahead of a meeting. Suppose you're going to meet somebody, or like you're going to meet like 5 people in a meeting, um, getting their bios ahead of time. Like you can enter anybody's name on Perplexity now and get a pretty good bio. You can enter 5 people's names together and it'll still do that for you. Automatically annotating your day ahead of time, being even more prepared. Sometimes you're going to a sell call, you're trying to sell your product to somebody. Precisely doing your research on what that person likes to hear, and catering your message according to that. These are kind of things I used to do manually before. I just use AIs for it now. Similarly, like when I'm trying to like ask new questions about a topic I don't understand, whatever is going on in the global economy right now, I'm not that financially or economically literate, so I can learn about a new topic as soon as something happens, without needing access to any expert. And I feel like that's a completely different future we're living in. So this is all like every common day-to-day person, all the research, all, making sense of the world, everything can be done with AIs now. And then you can also customize it to your profession. If you're a product manager or like a business development professional, coming up with strategies to getting better at one particular task you're doing. A lot of our product managers have to use our products themselves to get a taste for like what to improve there. Consolidating customer support, like all the feedback people give about the product on so many different platforms, and AI can actually read all of that and like triage into the right set of issues based on the frequency of complaints better than a human can today. So you got to take advantage of all these tools.
Right. Arvind, we are at the Rising Bharat Forum. We had Prime Minister Modi with us yesterday. He made a very rousing speech. I want to understand about what you think India should do to improve its research prowess in AI. Last week, for instance, we had Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal comparing India with China, where he said, it's very well that we are one of the largest startup ecosystems in the world, but we are building delivery apps, we are building, we are making fancy ice creams and cookies, but where is the hard innovation and hard technology that China has been able to do, whether in semiconductors or EVs? So what would your, reading be? How can we build a Perplexity out of India? I mean, you studied in IIT Madras, you went to Berkeley and then built Perplexity out of the US. It's now going to be valued, I think, at $18 billion on your next funding round. Why can't we build a world-beating product out of India? What will it take?
I certainly think we can. Just to comment on the code, I think it's a very positively provocative comment, and generally those comments are meant to instigate, like, okay, let me come and show that I can do it, sort of a reaction. So I hope that's what it leads to. Just to make it clear, China went through this trajectory too. Whatever India is doing right now, of like trying to build clones of apps that already exist, but for the Indian market, China did that for a long time. In fact, there's a whole joke in the TV show Silicon Valley about it, of how like every single startup, you just prefix a new to it and then you do it in China. That's how like the new Pied Piper. I think that's essentially what happened for a while there, and they built all that muscle to like ship products pretty quickly and iterate, and and only then they started building new products that did not exist, and captured a global audience beyond the Chinese market, like TikTok, for example, right? And so India can certainly produce its own like TikTok, which again is not deep tech, but it's still one product that would get the global audience rather than just the Indian audience. It's certainly possible, and I was with in a podcast with Nikhil Kamath. I think he was discussing the same question with me of like, what would it take for India to build an Instagram rival? And I think all these questions should be explored. Like that more people should be encouraged to try these ideas. And venture capital scene is very essential. Like I think VCs in India are still very risk averse, and they like to invest in things that they wouldn't lose money on, rather than investing in things they would potentially make a lot of money on, but are okay losing some money in some incorrect bets. So the mindset should be like, okay, 95% of my investments would fail, but 5% of my investments would return me like 100 or 1000x. That the 95% that failed doesn't matter. I think that mindset doesn't quite exist in Indian venture capital right now. So if that changes, and like more people from IITs are convinced to like raise venture capital money and like found companies there and try to take on like the big tech, start with the Indian market and then expand to the rest of the world. There are some unique things that come out of it. So you take study products like YouTube or WhatsApp or Chrome. All these are products that grew a lot in India in the beginning, like YouTube offline downloads, for example, WhatsApp particularly. Chrome, the browser, couldn't really beat like Internet Explorer or Safari in the United States for a long time, but they captured the mind share and market share in India. So certainly, like, that sort of trajectory is possible for new products too.
Right. Final couple of questions before I let you go, Aravind. You had announced hiring plans to expand your operations in India a few months ago. How is that progressing? Any numbers that you can share on, your adoption in the India market? Because OpenAI recently said that this is the fastest growing market for ChatGPT. So if you can give us a sense of how India is shaping up for you. You're also focusing a lot on cricket content of late. So has that helped you?
So India is in the top 10 countries for us right now, probably even close to the top 5 in terms of revenue already. I'm not even talking about usage, just even revenue, which has really pleasantly surprised me because our product is priced pretty expensively right now for the Indian market.
Right?
Sorry?
It's still $20, right? So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's $20. It's pretty expensive. But I've pleasantly been surprised of the willingness to pay for the product. A lot of people are using the deep research agent that we have. Our Pro Search is being used by a lot of people too. And it's definitely, in terms of daily query traffic too, it's in the top five or top 4 for us. So it's a pretty important market. And I think like we've also been very pleasantly surprised by how fast it's growing. I'm sure that OpenAI is sharing similar statistics. And I did my research on this in terms of enterprise like knowledge worker adoption. India is quite far ahead of like even countries like United Kingdom, according to some research that's been done. And so a lot of people who are like digital knowledge workers, professionals, they're heavy adopters of generative AI, and they're big users of Perplexity and other products in this market. As for our hiring, I think it's honestly gone slower than I would have liked. We haven't actually hired that one person to really grow our business in India yet. We've got tons of applications. I definitely went through some of them, but to be fair, like we couldn't like go through the entire list. It was pretty complicated, and I would have to spend a little more time on this because the expectation was only people with like some amount of experience with like general manager or like business development would apply. But basically, the interest was so big that wide array of people with different set of skills applied, and so many referrals from people I know as well. So it got overwhelming to a point where I decided I would wait for a while and make sense of like what we really need there before expanding. And yes, like focusing on cricket is very important. There are lots of searches on cricket that are already happening on Perplexity, and we want to keep growing that. And we plan to also incorporate other content that's interesting to Indian audience, like entertainment, TV shows, movies, all local results, better support for languages. All these things need to be there for a product to be widely useful to the Indian audience.
Right. India-specific pricing coming, Aravind?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know the number yet, but we're definitely thinking about it. Yeah.
So we can expect a lower number to subscribe to.
Yeah,
Perplexity.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the right strategy. Many other consumer subscription apps have done this, like Netflix, Amazon. So definitely that's the way to go. Obviously, our inference is expensive. We don't want to like put a lower tier quality product just for saving costs there. So we are trying to figure out a way to distill some of the open source models, make it more efficient, and what should be in the lower tier plan and what should be in the higher tier plan. Like we're trying to think about it.
Right. Last question before I let you go. What's the one piece of advice in the AI industry that you deliberately ignore?
I think I can say two things. One is people often want to plan ahead, right? People want to have a strategy and a plan for 1 year or 2 years and stick to it no matter what happens in the world. I think that used to be a fine strategy when the world was moving a lot slower. It doesn't hold true anymore. Like everything changes pretty fast. Whatever you think doesn't work well, and so you kind of build around that. You're just like flummoxed when something happens in like reasoning, for example. So if you assume agents don't work and then agents start working, like what do you do? And similarly, if you assume something's really going to work and speed of progress is like slow there, what do you do? So you have to be pretty flexible and fast moving. And so I don't actually plan the company for more than 3 months right now. This is not the best way to run any company, but in AI, it happens to be like a perfect strategy for us. The second thing I would say is a lot of people try to work backwards from what the user wants, narrow down the problem into like a very specific set of things, and build for one particular demographic or vertical. It's a very established advice in any kind of company, be it consumer or enterprise. The problem with AI, though, is you're building with a generic piece of technology. It's so hard to bake in custom constraints into it, and the more custom you try to make it, the more it loses its magic of generality, which is what people love about using AIs. And so without actually having an end user or like an end demographic or vertical in mind, it's so hard to actually build anything as a product builder. But you kind of have to figure out the sweet spot of still being useful for a particular set of users, but making the product as general and horizontal as possible. And I think these are the two main reasons I would say a lot of people struggle to build AI native products in companies, but it's absolutely essential.
Great. On that note, Aravind, thank you very much for joining us. You can get back to your work, but thank you very, very much for joining us at Rising Bharat. A huge round of applause, everyone, for Aravind Srinivas of Perplexity.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aravind.